Hello everyone, Mr. Love here, coming to you from the Diesel Lab. Today we're going to do a short little video here on checking the starter draw on our vehicle here. We're going to just be using the test board today, just so we can see all the wires out in the open. If you're going to do this on a vehicle, you normally need two people. One person is sitting in the seat, cranking it over, while the other person's underneath or wherever we get the good starter wires for it. So let's get started. Over here at our starter board here. So the first thing we could do, some of our manuals say we could just do a simple little voltage drop test on our starter to see if it's working properly. So the reason they do that mostly is because, you know, every mechanic should have a multimeter. Not everyone has an inductive pickup big enough to actually check the starter draw itself. So we could do a simple little voltage drop. To do this, we'll hook our one wire over right to the ground spot on the battery. So we'll hook it right to the battery, logged right on the ground. The other side will hook to the ground right at the starter. So we'll put it on voltage DC. Then when we crank over the starter, we should get a reading here. Right now, it's all zeros. We should get a reading. This one's not actually turning over an engine, so we shouldn't get too high of a reading. Let's see what we got. Yep, so right there, we got about 0.04 of a volt right there. So not very much starter draw. Obviously, if we had an engine attached to it, we'd have more voltage drop going across there. But since we don't have an engine turning over, we're just reading a little bit. But that's how you do it. So one lead over onto our ground of our battery, the other lead on the ground of our starter, or right to the starter case itself. Some of them don't have their own ground. Some of them are grounded through the actual engine. So wherever you get a good spot on the starter casing itself, or if it has a ground wire going to it, as close as you can to the starter, we'll put it on there. Okay, our next one here is our most accurate way of checking our starter draw. We'll have to use something with an inductive pickup on it. So I have this multimeter right here that I got at Lowe's, I don't know, a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, about $70. This one does inductive pickup reading for amperage for both AC and DC. So our system here is DC. I'll set it to the 400 amp DC. And I'll just clamp it around the battery wire going to the starter. So it could be anywhere between the battery and the starter, wherever you get a good spot to actually hook it around there. So again, usually you need two people for this. One person to sit in the cab, cranking it over, while the other person's underneath or wherever we get to the battery cable good. So turn it on here, we'll turn it over. Again, we're not hooked to an engine, so right now our starter draw spikes at almost 50 amps. Yeah, so we spike about 49 amps, and then it drops down to a steady, we'll say 26 amps. So not very much because you're not turning over an engine right now. Some of our bigger vehicles and stuff, some of our big trucks, when we're doing the starter amperage draw, we might see 700-800 amps through there. In that case, we'd have to use a bigger meter than this one here. This one here only goes up to 400 amps. We do have a bigger battery tester one here that goes up to 1,000 amps.